So let's wait if let Steve talk. He's a candidate for U.S. He's a candidate for U.S. Senate.
Good afternoon. My name is Steve Keough. I'm running for the United States Senate, and I am from San Antonio. Thank you. I'm a retired Navy captain, a submariner, and I've had multiple commands within the Navy. And so I understand leadership, I understand how to take care of people, and I also then, after active duty and continuing on in public service, I went to the Boston College Law School, got my degree, and became a registered United States patent attorney. But most importantly, my wife and I have 3 adult daughters, and they had their rights stripped away from them by a corrupted Supreme Court, and I intend on fixing it. Thank you. I'm a union member of the Texas American Federation of Teachers, and I have fought in 2023 in Harris County, in Austin, on behalf of the schools that were being pounded by Mr. Abbott. And we will get there. The vouchers were successful in terms of depriving schools from having a voucher system. Yeah, very similar. So it was a busy year on the supporting other teachers front. Our platform is very important to explain. We determined that over the last 5 cycles of statewide races for a number of years, that the top 3 issues were immigration and border, health care, of course, and the economy, not other issues. So we're focused on those issues as our lead issues. Now, obviously, you expect your U.S. Senator on day 1 to be conversant and thoughtful on more than just 3 issues. So that's not a problem. But on those 3 issues, you'll probably remember me most, not just because we went to the camps in Mexico to understand the issues on immigration, not just because we published back in June a proposed plan to start solving these problems, which was picked up by the El Paso Times and also Yahoo News. Those are all important issues. But I think you'll remember mostly that we stood up as a Texan and said, we need to solve these before they became political football in what's going on now. So I have optimism that I can stand up and fight and solve these issues in a fair way, and also protect the border in the proper way by getting the right funding there and getting more people. As far as health care goes, abortion care is health care. Mental health care is health care. Gender affirming care is health care. I have a broad view of how we improve the lives of men and women and children in this country by expanding coverage wherever possible, by bypassing on Medicaid, bypassing the blockages in Austin and providing block grants to the counties and the municipalities and even the hospitals if needed to get the right care at the right time for people who need it. My wife is a doctor. I have had a life of understanding these issues. On the economy, I am very focused on consumer pricing. It's kind of a goofy thing, but it's like patent attorneys do goofy things, right? No, it's because I had a family member who was a governor in the Federal Reserve System. And she taught me what to look for. What are the indicators that the price controls or the prices that are controlling our lives of bread and eggs and milk, the basics that are everyday issues that we all struggle and deal with. I watch those. I'm no fun to go shopping with, okay? It's very slow and looking at prices. But unleaded gas, obviously you've noticed in the last month, really the last 3.5 weeks, that prices of unleaded gas have gone up by 25 to 30 cents. It's obvious. But when you think about it, why is that? It didn't happen right after October 7th because we have an excellent president and a sharp administration when it comes to national security and got 2 battle groups out there to the Eastern Med to keep the lid on things. However, notwithstanding incredibly good efforts and great diplomatic efforts and efforts to support Israel, things did start getting out of control a little bit, to say the least, particularly if you're a Gazan. And by the way, just to be clear, I have always supported Israel. I've always supported a 2-state solution. The last time I was in the Oval Office talking with President Carter, we talked about the 2-state solution. I served as a special national security advisor appointed at the presidential level in the Clinton administration. And also, believe it or not, I was carried on into the G.W. Bush administration. So it's an odd thing perhaps to say to this group, but the fact of the matter is I have more experience on the issues that affect our economy, which are national security issues, okay, than any other candidate by far. And I intend on using those experiences, those lifelong experiences, in a productive way from day one. I speak Chinese, so I understand those issues in North Asia that will help prevent us from having a war there. I've been walking for democracy in the former Soviet Republic, new states. I did that for a couple of years and helped them change their laws from socialist-based to private ownership. And then I commanded a unit in Bahrain when I was in the Navy, and I understand that area. And most importantly, my views are shaped by the fact that my father was a hostage for 444 days in Tehran and other cities where they held him. And we did not go and bomb the heck out of them. We used negotiations for the most part. And so I have publicly stated for quite some time that we need to have a ceasefire in Gaza, that I believe that the efforts that were started in good faith went awry, and that what has happened is collective punishment that's illegal under international law. So it's a balancing act to support our ally, but it's not unclear, as far as I'm concerned, and as a military officer, that what has happened is wrong and we need to stop it. And I don't care what anybody says, because when famine starts affecting the permanent brain functions of children, we're done talking. We have to stop this, and I know that there's good efforts going on to try and do that, and I just pray that it will happen sooner. But those are the sort of perspectives that I bring as your senator on day one. Stopping healthcare deserts, coming up with solutions for that, getting the rights back for women on reproductive health, and also protecting providers that are coming in to provide that service and that medical care. We can do that with federal support backing them up. So there are a number of items that you'll see on day one. We have a list of 15 objectives that we're going to publish before the final election to show you that our team is the one to support, and we have the experience to do it. So it's Steve Keough, and it's keoughforsenate.com. I'm asking for your support, meaning your votes. Okay, I'm not asking for money. I appreciate if you have a few dimes to throw our way, but it's the votes. We have early voting starting on February 20th, and then on March 5th is the main primary date. And I so much appreciate, I know you've been here for a bit, thank you very much for your time and attention. And am I permitted to take any questions?
Yeah, let's do 2 questions.
Okay.
Anybody?
Yes, sir.
You want to get something done,
I do want to see the filibuster busted. It is not. It is not doing the job that it was originally intended to do. It's just obstructing progress in the U.S. Senate. And I will take every effort to do that, keeping in mind that it can work against us at some point. But, you know, that's getting back to at least getting things done in the meantime. If we have the majority, we get to rule. Question? Yes, ma'am.
There's an article about billionaires who are helping Democratic candidates. Will you benefit from any of this?
I don't know about the article or the person, but I play Powerball.
Well,
You know, that's the closest I'm going to get to that, with all due respect.
Anybody else?
Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Okay. Given that your Republican opponent, Ted Cruz, makes the southern border his front and center talking point, what are your thoughts on the southern border, and more specifically, as someone who is running for office who wants to control the purse strings of our government, will you advocate for increasing funding to CBP, Customs Border and Border Patrol, and what restrictions and or legislation will you put around CBP when it comes to border security?
Thank you. We've met before. Nice to see you. You saved the good one, though, for today, right? Look, I am very comfortable with funding additional CBP and DEA and any other support agencies for the safety of Americans along our border. I'm very comfortable with that. As long as they go by the law, as long as they follow the law, then I'm okay. But we also need technology out there helping as well for interdiction, surveillance, and most of that is for people who are not abiding by the proper entry procedures, okay, or intentionally trying to come in with contraband. Okay, we need to help them. We need to get more support for them. Training is very important in my world. As a submariner, we focused on training for officers and the troops. So the same thing with CBP. And that goes the whole length of the border. That is an issue that just needs to be addressed. And you can't blame President Biden for not doing it. You need funding and authorization to increase the resources. That's it. I mean, that's pretty straightforward. And I saw that as far back as May when I was going on either side of the border with my team to go to the camps to talk with the people who were doing the right thing. They were stuck in camps, refugee camps, thousands and thousands. But those folks, when you think about it, they are following the rules. They are trying to follow the rules. It's just that our immigration laws need help. Some of the recommendations that I made and that are published were to get more initial interviewers for these folks to ease the length of the line. Rather than 10 months or 12 months, get more interviewers and get the process rolling. That takes money and funding. Another one that I recommend is when the folks do come in, when we do process people and they come into the States, why do we have a rule that says you cannot work for 60 days? What in the heck is that? That makes no sense. So just fundamental change there. And again, that's something that an executive order can do. It's going to be challenged, but it really is going to be part of a comprehensive effort in Congress when that happens to make that permanent change. There are other programs that need good support along the border. I worked and talked with communities along the border, non-governmental organizations along the border, including churches and local efforts. And all of those get support from a fund called the Shelters and Services Fund from the U.S. government. And it's funded with millions and millions of dollars. And that is used to ensure that when refugees come across, when immigrants come in, there's a place for them to stay. There are proper clothes for them if they need it, and many do because of the ordeal they've gone through. So it's interesting to me, though, that, well, first of all, we'll make sure that the right funding continues as needed. You know, what's going on is it's not, people think it's an assault on the United States. What's going on is global. The amount of migration globally has considerably increased. And it's not just the border with our good friends in Mexico that's the issue. In 2022, we started to see it, and in 2023, if you looked at the border crossings for immigrant-type crossings on the Canadian border with the United States, with the states of New Hampshire, Vermont, and eastern New York, it increased fivefold, 5 times. So that's a function, though, of the global migration due to failed states and other areas. Another example of what needs to be changed within the immigration laws is that for people to be refugees, there's a general list of what has happened in the states that they're coming from. So types of situations, like wars and revolutions and this sort of thing. But what's not in the law is allowing refugees to come here for failed states due to economics. Well, guess what? That's Venezuela. That's Venezuela and all the folks from Venezuela that are in these camps, okay? But it's a legitimate reason to flee because of the extortionists that fall in behind that. So, yes, there are a lot of things to do. We have to get something in place for some of the bigger issues. And number one, to me, is citizenship for the deferred action people, the dreamers. That has to be number one. What are we doing? That's a priority. These are good people. They're hardworking people. They've been patient. They've been following the rules. They're here. They're already vetted. Make them citizens with full benefits, number one. Okay? Yeah. So these are practical suggestions, and there are many more. There are many more. But if we can get some of these things done, I think we might have an environment to make that happen soon. I'm optimistic about that. But there's still going to be another level of effort to get more comprehensive improvements to the system. We shouldn't have a family member here with a family member in Mexico and have it take 20 years to allow that person in Mexico to join the family member here. That's the case. That's the situation now, and similar with other countries. So those are just some examples. Rather than put you to sleep with all the others, okay? But there are many. And so let's get something done. Not let perfect be the enemy of the good here. Get some things done. And then keep working on a more comprehensive effort. I think that is the right approach. And I can find support in different issues from different members in the Senate and the House to move that along. That's my view on that. Did I answer your question? Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes, yes, and it's keoughforsenate.com, and then you can access our Facebook right off of that, just clicking on the Facebook logo, because on Facebook we have a current update of what's going on the campaign and where we've been, speeches, this sort of thing, whereas the website is more background information on the issues and that sort of thing, and old pictures of me when I was much younger. Okay? Thank you very much.
And I've been pronouncing it wrong the whole time. I thought it was Keough, like the Barbie movie.
Yeah, it's just Keough, K-E-O. Those Irish extra syllables, don't worry about them.